Hey everyone, welcome back to a new Wizard101 video. I wanted to continue the trend that I started this year basically with my channel, where I create videos that are more guides and kind of a learning type of video, which I don't feel like I've done too much in the past, but this one is going to be focused on deck building, comparing Jade decks to hitting decks on my two max level characters. So I've already got other kind of guide videos on my channel. I guess the main ones would be the gear guide series that I did and completed. That's basically from level 1 to max 125. If you're unsure of what gear to go for, you could look at that video and hopefully get at least a general idea of what gear you should be farming for, or what gear you should have. I mean, you don't need every piece of gear, but I just want to make something that would help people. So this one, I wanted to make a guide to help people know kind of what they should be putting in their deck, and like how many cards they should be putting in the deck in order to help their team more and to be more useful. So this one, we're going to start with the Jade setup, because my life is basically a Jade / healer, and so we're going to look at what kind of deck I would set up for this character. I feel like people look at how many cards they're allowed to put into the deck, and I don't know how many this is. It's actually a lot. This is like the max that you can have, and they fill it completely up with stuff that they may use, like legend shields and like life. Oh, maybe I'll need a life prism, or oh, maybe I'll heal a little bit. Well, what if there's an overtime? Maybe I'll want to put in a triage or something, you know. And they just kind of like start throwing stuff in here that a lot of it you probably won't even use for certain fights, and this really clutters up the deck a lot. And you're gonna be drawing, like, what if your turn is you draw 3 life prisms and 3 triages, and then, you know, what are you gonna do? Put a life prism up? What if there's no life? I mean, so that's kind of a bad idea. Basically, when I create a deck, I do it for each fight. If it's a general one, then I just start looking at, okay, what do I need for every fight, basically. And a good way to start is just click all spells and just start going through. Like, what do you actually need? What do you actually need for a fight? And for me, Indemnity is always a good one. I put like 1 or 2 of those in. And if you're a healer, you want to put in some Primordials or Radical, whatever you have. These two, if you're past Azteca, these 2 are super good. I put in 2 of each. 2 Potent, 2 Sharpen, and then a couple of these for healing. Helps you to heal for a lot more. And basically skip all these. And then some healing. I put in a couple fairies sometimes, depends. Pigsy, I put in like a lot of these. Sometimes I skip fairy altogether and I just only go Pigsy because it's so good. But if you're a healer, you're going to put in some heals. You don't need a ton. You don't need to be like, okay, I need so many. No, you don't need a lot of Satyr. Maybe like 2 or 3. If it's going to be a long fight like Medulla, put in like 3 or 4. But you don't need a ton. You don't need to like click max of every single thing. For Rebirth, I put in like 1 or 2. And then for, what else? If I want to be like super tanky, I put in Brace for like a couple of those. And Feint, I always put in 4. This is like my default setup. I have 4 Feints, couple Indemnity, 2 Potent, 2 Sharpen, and then I also put in the Elemental. I put in 4 of these. That's just, I don't know. For me, playing this game for so long, I just like doing 4 Elemental, 4 Feint, and or 4 Elemental Blade, 4 Feints, and then 2 Sharpen, 2 Potent. That's just, for me, that's like a default, like what you want. If you know you're going to be using Indemnity more, or you're going to need more of these, Potent, then you put in more of that. But this is just like the default setup that I like to go for. So there you go. And also put in a Donate Shoutout just in case it ever happens, but you're probably not going to need that. So that's just the default. This is like my default like healer setup, what I would go for. Usually I don't even put in 2 rebirths because I have a rebirth in my side, so you don't even need that. You can be like, okay, I don't need that many rebirths because I have 2 in the side deck, so you're good. But yeah, I would say this is like the most basic healing setup. And look, this only takes up 3 rows of cards. Sometimes I uncheck Sanctuary, Mass Feint, I uncheck that because it's really good. But all I'm trying to explain here is that you don't need to fill out the entire deck with spells unless you know it's going to be a long fight, like Medulla or some other boss, like maybe the Rat or something that you know is going to take a long time. Otherwise, you're good. And if I was just doing a regular mob fight and I was supporting someone, I wouldn't even put in all this. I would literally just put in like 1 Pigsy, 1 Rebirth, not even this, and that's it. There you go, 2 rows. I just reduced it down to 2 rows. That's all I need for a mob fight. If it's a boss, I maybe put in a couple more things. So that's all I'm trying to explain in this. Like, basically, you don't need to fill out the entire deck with spells. You can limit it to what you actually need, and be more successful because you're gonna pull stuff that you can use every turn. You know, I see in live streams and stuff, people have to pass a lot because they don't have anything to use. It's basically like PvP. When you have to pass a turn, you're wasting your ability to use something, to blade a hitter or put up a shield or something like that. So this is a better way to draw what you need. And if you absolutely don't get anything, then you have the TCs, but you probably don't want to pull a ton from the TCs, because if you pull a lot from the TCs, then you can't get the cards that you need from your main deck next turn. So you're basically setting yourself up to fail next turn because you drew a bunch of stuff that is not useful. So that's just a quick rundown of my Jade deck and how you would set that up for just, easily being able to pull the cards that you want for that. So let's switch over to my Storm and take a look at the kind of decks that I use to hit with. And I feel like people are going to be surprised by what I put in for my normal hitting decks on my Storm, because it's really not much. Oh, what's up, Milorn? So for my Storm, what I do is I have the sideboard, or the, what is this? Is this called the sideboard? I think. I don't know, whatever. I have like the side Storm Blades from the Amulet, and this one's from the pet. But usually this is my mob deck for just like, I don't know, minions that I know are gonna have fairly low health. This is what I use. This is basically, and I even uncheck one of my blades because I know I don't need that many. So 2 blades and 3 hits. Only 2 epics, because the reason I do this is because I don't want to draw all epics and not a hit. So it might seem kind of weird, like, oh, why would you put in 2 epics and 3 hits? That's because I know the battle's not going to last that long where I need to hit more than twice usually. If it does, well, it's my fault, and then maybe I can pull from my side. But this is it. This is my normal just mob deck that I use. That's 5 cards, and plus like the side cards and TCs. That's it. Probably you're not going to want this because you're going to want to blade more, but I put this because I know I don't even need to blade for some fights, depending on my setup. So for a normal hitting setup, let's just go through it like all the way from the beginning. So if you want to set up a hitting deck, basically, I mean, this is dependent on, it's not really too dependent on your school. This is just in general. You're going to want all epics. You're going to want 2 sharpens, and probably your aura, galvanic. I put in 2 of those. You're going to want to, I don't do feints. A couple tempests is what I usually do for here. So basically put in a couple of your AoEs. I put in 4 storm blades so I can sharpen 2 of them. And then if you need a prism, you would do that. Mass prism if you need that. And then basically you get to your hits. What hits do you want? I put in 1 Stormlord, like 1 Sirens, and like 2 bugs, 1 sold and 1 of that if I want to. This I still feel like is kind of cluttered, but it's really up to you at this point. Like, how many hits do you think you actually need to finish the fight is what it comes down to. And for this one, sometimes I decide like, okay, I don't need like both Sultan and Rusalka, so I like take out Rusalka. But I mean, that's basically it. This is my one of my like largest hitting decks is just gonna be this, because I also have side hits if I really need it, and I don't feel like I ever go like all the way through the entire deck, unless it's PvP. PvP is a whole different story, but I'm just talking for PvE. This is what your general setup is going to look like. If I know I'm going to have to hit for a lot and it's going to take a while, then I'll put in like 3 bugs, maybe 2 sirens, something like that. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You're going to have plenty of blades on this one, even side blades. You can put inside storm blades or whatever your school is. For that, it'd be good. I usually put 4 in my side and then a couple main hits. So yeah, I mean, that's basically what it comes down to, is limiting the size of your hand so that you don't have to continue to like dig for a lot of stuff that's maybe it's way down here in the bottom of your deck and you never draw it, and that's gonna be a problem for you. So here we go. Let's switch over to my PvP. I forget which deck I actually have for this one. Hopefully it's already set up. I think it's this one. Here we go. Completely different story. This is the PvP setup for my Storm. For PvP, you want basically unless it's quick match, you basically want a full deck. I mean, I have a couple spaces here, but it's fine. I make up for it with the sideboard. But this is what I have for PvP. You're going to want a lot of stuff because the match could go for a long time. And I don't know, this is just my like basic setup that I use for when we do PvP 4v4 house parties. and I just run with this, and you're able to get your hits, a lot of enchants for them, and I mean just a little bit of everything in this. That's kind of what PvP is, at least with 4v4. You want a little bit of all your stuff, all your useful cards to be able to use. In quick match, you're going to want to reduce all of this because you need to go fast. And if you're drawing like a bunch of cleanse and a bunch of flawless, that's bad. You're not even going to want to use that in quick match. So that changes it. But yeah, this is the comparison of PvP to PvP deck setups. You don't need a lot for PvE, but PvP, yeah, you're going to need a lot. So let's switch back over to my my life to finish this up. But I hope that made sense. I hope people can kind of understand basically what you want to look for when you're setting up your deck and all of that. So let's go back to my house. But I don't know, I hope it wasn't too much all at once with this video, but I hope it's useful for some people. I think I have my deck for PvP here. This is the PvP deck that I have for my life. This one again is not filled all the way either. I could maybe find some stuff to throw in like extra, but I feel like it gets to be too much. I already have a lot of Pigsy, a lot of Rebirth and other heals and all of that. Infection's good, and you know, life dispels and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the comparison of the the deck setups. So I don't know, I just wanted to make this video because I feel like some people could benefit from it. Basically, when you're just regular questing, you don't need to fill your deck all the way up like that. There's no reason to have a bunch of cards unless you think you're gonna need it. And you can also change it up for each boss. You can look and be like, okay, this is, this boss, he's life, I need to put in a prism, or this boss I'm going to need to use a lot of traps because they remove blades or something. I don't know. It's whatever it is. Every fight you're going to have to change it up a little bit, unless it's just a general like mob. But there you go. That's it. I feel like I've been talking for so long on this and just kind of harping on it. But this is just in general what I wanted to talk about with deck setups for Jade compared to deck setups for hitting. So I hope it was useful for you guys. If it was, please leave a like on it, subscribe for more. Let me know if you want to see any more kind of guide videos like this, or I just give my own personal opinion from experience on what I think you guys should do for I don't know, certain things in the game. But that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.